Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a lovely day. I'm so glad you're joining me for another 5 easy step card tutorial. Today we're playing with pattern paper, and then we're using a die set to create our focal point. And the die set that we're using is actually called Autumn and Halloween Embellishments. This is like an add-on or accessory die that goes with this cute little gnome. This is the Fergus Gnome. This is part of a collection that Sandy McIver designed. It's a cute little stuffed felt gnome that you can stitch and sew. I mean, it's just adorable. And you have the base gnome, and then you can make an autumn themed gnome with this die or with this die set, and you can add it to Fergus is this cute little gnome's name. So cute. And the same goes with the winter. This is the winter and Christmas embellishment. And so you can add details to them. But these are great dies on their own. So that's what I thought we would do today, is create a couple of cards using the dies. All of these would be great on cards, not only on Fergus. So, so I thought that's what we would do today. I'm actually only going to make one card, and then at the end I'll show you a card that I made in the same layout with this die set. Okay, we're going to jump in and get started. Let's start by doing a little bit of die cutting for our step number 1, which is our focal point. And I thought, I'm really not a big Halloween girl, so I thought we'd make a fall card. And so we're going to take this little pumpkin, and I'm going to die cut this out with some light orange cardstock, and then the background I'll cut out with some dark orange cardstock. I'm actually going to create 3 pumpkins. Okay, so we'll do that. I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit. Sometimes I'm too far away. Okay, better. And then you have the pumpkin leaves and the trunk or stem of the pumpkin, and I'm going to cut this out with some green cardstock. We're going to cut out the flowers here with white cardstock. I'm going to do some leaves too. There's some cute little button leaves. Well, I'm calling them button leaves because there's stitch detail in them. So they kind of look like buttons. There's actually buttons in here too that we're going to cut out. I'm going to cut out some buttons with some teal cardstock. And then the leaves will mix and match colors with the light and the light and dark orange, and maybe we'll bring in a gray. Let me bring in some gray. Okay, I'm gonna die cut out some gray leaves too. My die cutting is all done. I already created 2 of the pumpkins, but I'm gonna show you how I did it. First, we die cut out the leaves and the trunk of the pumpkins with green cardstock. So just to make this quick and easy, I'm using a brown Copic marker. I'm actually using E74. And I'm going to go over the trunk of the pumpkin with my brown marker. I'm actually going to take the same marker and color in one of the leaves that I created with the lighter orange cardstock, since we have this out. I already did it with this leaf here, just so we have a little extra variant in fall leaf colors. Doesn't take any time at all. I'm going to take my pumpkin. I'm going to add a few dots of glue behind here. Let me grab my tweezers. First, we will add our pumpkin trunk here, and then I'll take the top of my pumpkin and just lay it over. We're just sandwiching the trunk in here. You don't have to do that. You could actually put it behind it. And there we go. Now for the leaves, we are going to add a couple little dots of glue and just layer them together. And then I'm going to layer the leaves next to the pumpkin here. I'm going to bring in my blending brushes, and I'm going to add a little color. I'm going to use some teal ink and add a little bit of teal to the top of my leaves here. Just a little bit. And then for the pumpkin, we're going to add a little color to the pumpkin as well. I'm going to actually add some orange to the leaf here too, and to this leaf. And then we'll add it to the lighter leaves. There we go. Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to flip over this pumpkin. We'll put a foam square behind here. So those are all ready to go. And then for my flowers, we're just going to add some of those teal buttons to the center. Now I'm going to create a little leaf and flower cluster. I like to do this because then all I have to do is pop it up with one foam square. So I'm going to bring in some cardstock. Just going to trim a thin strip here. And then what I'm going to do is layer, add some glue, and then we're just going to arrange the leaves on this little piece. You've seen me do this before. It just makes things easier. And using a small foam square, we're just going to stack these on here. There we go. Just do a little tucking with it. So now we have a little flower cluster. So those will be my focal point. We're going to move along to step number 2 and create our home panel. Now for my home panel, I'm going to bring in some gray cardstock. This is some light gray cardstock, and then I also have some white cardstock. The white cardstock measures 2.5 inches by 4 1/4. Now the gray is just slightly larger. Okay, I'm actually going to glue this all the way to the left, so the left is flush, and I have a little bit of border on the top, bottom, and the right side. Okay, before we adhere them together to create our home panel, I'm going to bring in my corner rounder, and I'm going to round the corners on the right side of both of these panels. My corners are rounded now. I'm going to add some glue. Actually, I'll use a tape runner. It's less messy. I'm going to use my tape runner. And then we're going to adhere this together. And again, I'm going to take the white cardstock and go all the way to the left. And then I do want to add a little detail to my home panel. So to do that, I'm going to bring in some pattern paper and a die set. The die set that I'm using is the classic mouse borders. Now once this is die cut, I'm going to add some thin beads of glue behind here, and we're going to layer some gray cardstock over this. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to layer this on some pattern paper. This pattern paper is from the Simple Story 6x8 paper pad called Fresh Air. It's this kind of plaid piece here. I just trimmed down a strip that was a little bit wider than this border, and all I'm going to do is add some glue here, and we're going to layer it together. Just centering it. And then I'm going to layer this on my home panel. I'm going to leave about 1/4 inch from the left side here. Anything overhanging, I'm just going to trim off with my scissors. And that's going to be my home panel. We're going to go ahead and take our focal image, and I'm going to stack my pumpkins on this side here. So I popped them up with foam tape. I'm going to stack them a little wonky. And then I'm going to take our floral cluster, put a foam square behind here, and this is going to go up here at the very top. Now we're going to move along to step number 3, and we're going to create our sentiment. Bringing in a stamp set. This is a stamp set that I've had for a while. It's called Typewriter Adventure Sentiments. And I'm going to use just a note here, and then I'm also going to use with love. So my greeting will say, just a note with love. Okay, we're going to stamp just a note over here. I may trim this a little bit more, and then we'll stamp with love on this side. I want a little extra room on the left of each of the greeting because we're going to tuck it underneath the flowers here. So I'm going to trim this down. Okay, and I did put some foam strips behind here. So we're going to tuck these. I'm going to trim this a little more, and we're going to do a little tucking with this. And I'm going to trim this piece a little bit more. And we'll add this one right underneath there. This is the kind of greeting that would go good if you use sentiment strips too. Simon System has some great sentiment strips, so you just cut a strip and you can tuck a couple under there. That would make it really pretty. Okay, I'm going to flip this over, put some foam tape behind here, and then we're going to move along to step number 4 and create our background. I wanted something a little bit different than fall colors, so I'm using the Simple Stories Simple Vintage Fresh Snow 6x8 paper pad. I really like this plaid, so that's the one I thought we would use behind our card today. I like the browns and the blues in here. I think that's just going to look really pretty. So I'm going to trim this down to a panel that measures A2 size. I'm going to 4 1/4, flip it and go 5 1/2. And then I'm going to take this and put this on the front of my card base. I'm going to remove the release paper off of my home panel, and we're going to add this. I'm going to add this to the left here. And that's all there is to my home panel. We're going to move along to step number 5, which means it's time to embellish. And I'm going to bring in some of my Fawn twine. This is cantaloupe, and I'm going to tie a bow with it. And I just put a glue dot behind here. And I'm going to add this to the center of my flowers, right in the center. And then on the buttons, I'm going to do a little crisscross motion. I'm using some colored pens. I picked these up from Spellbinders. These are Le Pen from Marby. And I'm going to use the brown in here. I use these a lot for faux stitching. So I'm just going to take the brown and I'm going to crisscross the buttons so it looks like they're stitched. I can't do it with the smaller ones, but I can do it with the bigger buttons. Just a couple of X's there. Lovely. And that's all there is to that. Oh, I do want to do one more thing. I'm going to bring in my corner rounder and I'm going to round the corners here of this entire card front. This may be a job for your crocodile, but the corner rounder just takes a little muscle, but it does go through both the paper and the cardstock beautifully. And then that will finish off that card project today. I want to show you another card that I made today using basically the same supplies. I used the same marker set. I used the blue instead of the brown, and then the paper pad was the same. I only used one paper pad for this next card, and it was the same Simple Vintage Fresh Snow paper pad. Let me show you the card. You could do the same thing for Valentine's Day too. You would just switch out the snowflakes or the pumpkins with hearts and then make a little floral cluster. You can do the same thing for most holidays too. You could go Easter eggs. That's what I love about sets like that, is because the accessory sets are wonderful for holidays. But those are my card projects. Super cute. I use the same message. But I hope you enjoyed my projects. I wish you a fantastic day. Thanks so much for joining me. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for sticking with me to the end. I have 2 more videos that you guys might be interested here. If you guys are new and like the content that you see, click that subscribe button and also the notification bell. That way for future videos, be notified. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It sure does help the channel. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.